The following is a recording by KMUN of a candidates forum held at Astoria High School on April 15th, ahead of Oregon's May regular district election. The forum featured candidates in contested races for seats on the Astoria School District Board, the Clatsop Community College Board of Education, the Port of Astoria Commission, and the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Directors. It was hosted by the Astoria branch of the American Association of University Women and moderated by Astoria High School principal Lynn Jackson. For additional coverage of these races by the KMUN News Department, go to kmun.org/news. And now, the forum.
Our branch has sponsored the candidate forums over the years, and we're pleased to do so again tonight. Thank you for your participation, and thank you to all of the candidates for stepping up. We have prepared some questions for the candidates. We encourage you all to ask questions. If you'd please write them on a 3x5 cards and pass them to those who will be along the aisles who will be collecting them. And they will pick them up. And just a note that none of the questions have been shared with anyone before this evening. And now I would like to turn this over to Lynn Jackson to do the introductions.
Yes, thank you. As introduced, my name is Lynn Jackson, and I'm the building principal of Astoria High School. And I want to extend my appreciation for everyone's willingness to be here this evening and to engage in civic discourse about a variety of topics this evening. We will be having comments and a debate around 4 separate groups of positions that will be open in the upcoming elections. So this evening we will have 4 separate transitions as we go through this debate. First of all, we have in front of us 4 candidates for the Astoria School Board of Directors, position number 4. We will first be hearing from them, followed by Clatsop Community College, that is open for Zone 2, Position 2. And then the Port of Astoria has a number of positions that are open. We'll hear from them. And to conclude this evening's forum, we will have Sunset Empire Transportation District and their respective commissioner candidates. By way of explanation of what we will be doing this evening, we will have each candidate provide a 2-minute introduction as to who they are and as to why they feel they should be elected to their respective position. Throughout the course of the evening, questions will be posed, and each candidate will have the opportunity to respond with 1 minute to answer according to the prompt. At 15 seconds remaining, they will receive a cue that is the amount of time left to them to answer the question. At the end of the debate, we will ask for a general pause, and we will then make the transition into the next group that will be debating particular topics. So without further ado, and expressing appreciation for the AAUW in facilitating this and for KMUN in broadcasting this evening's forum, I would like to introduce the 4 candidates for the Astoria School District Board of Directors. For position number 4, we have Carl Helberg, Tyler Lingstad, Holly Marsh, and Susan Prettyman Hartel. So we will first start off with introductions, beginning with Ms. Marsh on the far side, then Mr. Lingstad, Mr. Helberg, and then Ms. Prettyman Hartel. Ms. Marsh.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Holly Marsh, and I've lived in Astoria for 10 years now. My 2 children have attended the district since kindergarten, and one is at the middle school, and one is at Lewis and Clark Elementary. I'm the president of the Astoria Middle School Parents Club, and last year we raised $21,000. And I serve as an advisor on the Patient Family Advisory Council at Columbia Memorial Hospital. By day, I am a designer, an illustrator, and an e-commerce strategist. And I'm running for school board because someone I respect kind of nudged me to do it. And I also Well, let me tell you a story, and I'll try to do it as quickly as I can without making it to where you can't understand me. In 2019, at the age of 37, I was diagnosed with triple-positive invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2B, aka a fast-growing aggressive breast cancer. I had 18 months of treatment, and it was brutal. But it was made easier with my community. It was my family, my friends from college, online friends, my Timbers Army friends, and my local Astoria friends. Like, they showed up. It was amazing. From coordinating meals to sitting with me during chemo to cheering me on online, they were there for me throughout my entire treatment. It was truly humbling. I never felt so supported and so held ever in my life. And I feel like everyone should have that. So once I was done with treatment, I wanted to pay it forward by serving my community as a way to give back. In the addition to that treatment, during a global pandemic, I was diagnosed as being neurodivergent. And I'm gonna try to wrap this up really quick because I didn't go as fast. But my kids are neurodivergent, and I wanna help support other kids in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Mr. Lingstad.
Good evening, and thank you to the AAUW for organizing this event, Principal Jackson for moderating, and the Astoria High School for hosting. My name is Tyler Lingstad, and I am running for position 4 on the Astoria School Board. As the recreation manager for the city of Astoria and a proud graduate of Astoria High School, I believe that I have the right mindset to be an effective leader and a board member for this district. If elected, I will bring a unique perspective and a strong skill set for our district. My experience in the district in various roles, such as special education, transportation, and food service, coaching, and supporting 9th grade students as an on-track coach, has prepared me to understand the daily operations and the needs of students, staff, administrator, and families. In my role as a recreation manager, I manage a large public budget, navigating challenges and prioritizing funds to best serve our community. I've experienced negotiating contracts that will help educators receive fair wages while allowing the district to provide realistic pay. My educational experience has been exceptional here at Astoria. As a stepfather to a child in the district, I see education from a new perspective. I am committed and confident that I will work diligently to foster a healthy and supportive environment for every student. Our district is facing significant budgeting challenges that we must address immediately. Everyone here shares common goals for our district. The question isn't simply whether we should support students or make informed decisions. It's how we can achieve these goals effectively. As a school board member, we will face tough decisions about resource allocation, but I will strive to use our funds effectively, and I believe my experience will allow me to lead creative ideas for our funding challenges. If elected, I'm ready to find solutions for the district to save and not cut important resources that our students rely on. Thank you.
Mr. Hilbert.
There we go, sorry. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Hilberg, born and raised here in the Astoria, Warrenton area. I graduated from Warrenton High School. I then attended the United States Coast Guard Academy, where I earned a Bachelor of Science in Management and a commission in the United States Coast Guard. I also have a master's degree in Business Administration with honors from American Military University, and I hold certificates in Strategic Studies from the United States Naval War College. In my professional life, I spent 32 years in the United States Coast Guard. I retired as a captain, 10 years in active duty, and 22 years as a reservist. In my civilian career, I spent 22 years as a criminal investigator with NOAA Fisheries, stationed right here in the Astoria field office. I've been involved with the Astoria School District and the schools for many years. I regularly attend school board meetings. I've been on the strategic planning committee. I've been on the school district's budget committee for 5 years now. I've coached Astoria youth sports, football, basketball, baseball. And this last year, I coached the Astoria Middle School football team. Most importantly, I have 2 children in the Astoria School District, so I'm going to be around for a while. The reason I'm running for this position is I'm really invested in my 2 children, in their success, and I'm also really invested in the success of the children going to the school district and in our community. Some of the issues that have been mentioned we have going on right now in the school, we have some interesting budget issues coming forward, started last year moving into this year, where now, no fault of the school district, our expenses are outstripping our revenues. So that's going to be an interesting conversation when we start the budget process, just beginning. We also have some issues with proficiency of reading and math at grade level. So as you're looking at the four candidates up here, again, my name is Carl Helberg. I'm running for the position number 4 in the Astoria School District. And I'm asking each one of you for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Prettyman Hartel.
All right. Good evening. My name is Susan Prettyman Hartel. I'm running for position 4 on the Astoria School Board. I am the proud mom of 3 boys. I have an 11th grader here at Astoria High School, an 8th grader at Astoria Middle School, and also a 5th grader at Lewis and Clark Elementary. All 3 of my children have been part of the Astoria School District since kindergarten and have been an active volunteer in their classrooms and supported them with anything that their teachers needed. I was the president of the Parents Club at Astor, so I'm an active volunteer here within our districts. In my professional life, I serve as the deputy director of The Harbor, which is a nonprofit here in Astoria that actually supports survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And prior to that, I spent about 5.5 years as a social services manager at Clatsop Community Action, where I worked with families that experienced hardships. So families that were experiencing homelessness, food insecurity, and poverty. And those roles are actually the foundation for my desire to serve on the school board. I've seen firsthand the difficult choices that families have to make. I've worked with families that have to choose between saving money to pay for school lunches or buying their kids new school clothes each year. Those experiences actually inspired me to apply for and serve on our Astoria School District Budget Committee for the last 6 years. I'm currently the vice chair of that budget committee. During that time, we passed fiscally responsible budgets that made a real difference in the lives of students and families in our community. We were able to provide free school lunches for kids. We're able to eliminate sports participation fees, and also remove the burden of purchasing school supplies from families. Those changes gave students access to the opportunities that they deserve regardless of their background. I believe that my experience in social services and my deep understanding of how socioeconomic barriers affect learning, and also my passion for trauma-informed education make me the right candidate to serve our district and its families.
Very good, thank you. Candidates, those 2 minutes may have felt like they went by very quickly. Now, as a reminder, you have 1 minute for each response to the questions that will be posed. So many of you alluded to the fact that the Astoria School District is facing significant budgetary challenges. The first question is, what should the Astoria School District budget prioritize as funds continue to decline? We'll first hear from Mr. Lingstad.
Thank you. Key areas that I believe that we could address saving without harming our students are, number 1, addressing our declining enrollment. We must highlight the success of our district, a high graduation rate, fantastic teachers, and a strong community. We want to build a school district that families want to send their children to. Number 2, another thing that I believe that we need to focus on is the possibility of exploring school building consolidation. We need to evaluate whether the Gray School campus is financially responsible, and if it's worthwhile to have district staff in that building, or if we could move those staff into one of the other school buildings that we already have. And number 3, I think we need to take a good look at optimizing transportation. I believe that we can save money by prioritizing our stops, minimizing the amount of stops we're making, and the retention rate of our bus drivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Helberg, again, prioritization of the budget.
So, sorry about that. The budget's really uncertain. We won't know what our budget looks like right now because the state funding and the federal funding is uncertain. We're starting the budget process already, and so by the time we pass the budget, we probably won't even know what our funding is going to be. But the priority has to be education. Education, education. We talk about in a school district, we talk about a concept called the equity lens. There's no bigger equity lens you can give any child than a solid education. And right now, if you look at the state testing scores that are posted on the Oregon Department of Education, I'm going to round up, we're across the board, we're at 30% for reading and proficiency and math proficiency. Now, within the school district, we also have a different test that we use called the STAR test, the test beginning, mid, and end of year. Those show improved score numbers for our students. But regardless of what the budget is, we have to prioritize education for these children because it give them a start for their future endeavors in life.
Ms. Prettyman-Hartel.
I wish that I had a lot to add to this, but I actually agree with both of the other candidates as well. Unfortunately, we don't know what our budget is going to look like, so we don't know all the different ways that we can prioritize. But I can say that our current budget, about 85% of that goes towards paying for salaries and personnel. And my priority would be making sure that we don't have to cut any of our personnel. If we have to cut positions, hopefully we don't have to cut any teachers or any educators. I agree that we need to look at how we educate students. We need to provide the resources and supports that educators need in order to provide a more trauma-informed education. And I think that we need to prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion and justice work as well. I think that that is something that is under attack, and we need to make that a priority in our schools.
And Ms. Marsh.
I agree with the other candidates, especially with education. And at the top of that, of course, is salaries. And we want our teachers to feel supported and that they're paid well because then they stay in our district and they feel good about doing their jobs, which again makes our students have a really great experience while they're at school. Again, it's tricky, but I'm a business owner and I don't plan to do anything that's being done at the federal level. But I would look at ways that we can bring in revenue. I mean, what can we do with our buildings to serve the community that could bring in some revenue? Are there grants that we could qualify for that maybe we haven't explored before? Again, appealing to the Ways and Means Committee to maybe bump up that budget a little bit, even more than they're considering. And also looking at energy efficiency in our buildings. I know that our district is already doing that, and they're doing a great job, but I feel like we could maybe even look at it further. But basically looking at every nook and cranny of our expenses, and especially our revenue, and figuring out ways that we can boost that.
Very good. The next question deals with attendance and retention. This is a two-part question. Please take note. The question is, who is responsible for the education of youth that quit the schools? Should the school board play any role? And if so, how could we increase attendance? Again, school board's role with students that quit their schools, and how can we increase attendance? Mr. Helberg, would you please start off for us?
Well, to start with, a child's education, the parents are solely responsible for that child's education. I look at the school district as a service provider. With my two children, I look at myself as I'm responsible for their education. I hire the school district to provide certain education. So the school district does have a role. We have truancy, and in the state laws and the regulations, there are issues where truancy officers. And several years ago, we did have a campaign, Strive for Five, so we show that regular attendance 5 days a week is a big predictor of success in school, just getting the kids there. But it's ultimately the parents' responsibility to make sure their children are there. Now, the school can play a big part in helping with those issues. But again, though, the school cannot be all things to everybody. So we have a lot of services out there, and when the school district needs to leverage with the community to help these families that are having problems and these children having problems to get into school.
Responsible for the education of youth that quit their schools? Should the school board have a role in the retention of them? And how could we increase attendance?
So I think kind of like Carl said, ultimately it is the parents' responsibility to make sure that their children are attending school. But I think as a school board and just as educators in general, we have to be realistic about the experiences that our youth are having at home. So if you have youth that are close to becoming homeless, the reality is that they don't care about coming to school because they care about surviving. So I think we need to be realistic about that. We need to look at really creative and innovative ways to help support those students, to make sure that they want to come to school and to make sure that they understand why school is actually valuable to them.
Thank you. Ms. Marsh.
Like Carl and Susan, I agree that parents are ultimately responsible for making sure that their children are educated. But for every family, that looks different. And if that doesn't mean that it's with our district, well, then they need to notify the district. The school board's role is really to set policy and also to kind of, I was on the attendance committee back when we had that, when we noticed that studies were coming out about attendance, and it was really important to educate our community and our families how important attendance is. And it's also, it's a good idea to kind of keep tracking that and figuring out where that tipping point is and checking in with those families just to see, is there something that's needed, like Susan mentioned. Maybe they're facing homelessness, and are there agencies in our community we can connect them with and really help provide a well-rounded experience for families and for students.
And Mr. Lingstad.
I agree that parents do play a vital role in this, but as a school board member, our job, I believe, is to make sure that the district has resources for families, just like our on-track coaches that we have here at Astoria High School. Coach Poyer is a fantastic resource for that. We need to provide families with resources that people may need to go knock on doors, and we may need to call parents, and we may need to email parents, and a lot of the teachers that we have, they don't have the time during their day to do that. So as a school board member, we need to prioritize a budget that provides those resources for our staff and our families, and then make sure, we need to prioritize those resources to make sure that our children are getting to school, and also, thank you.
Okay, our next question deals with a little bit of the curriculum. Do you think civics should be taught, and what is your feeling for concurring with the District 1C's mission of equity, inclusion, and diversity for all? And we'll start with Ms. Prettyman Hartill.
That's a great question, and I don't know if I can answer it in 60 seconds. I would say, in talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, that I think a diverse team of educators should be a top priority because it sends a powerful message to our students, which is, as a district, we are committed to diversity and creating an inclusive environment. I think it's also crucial to, when we're talking about DEI, to talk about the element of justice that gets left out. And to me, I guess equity in education just genuinely means giving every student the tools and opportunities that they need to succeed. And I think that starts with a trauma-informed approach. And I think inclusion gets overlooked sometimes when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think that it is absolutely vital, and it is especially for students who identify as part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. So every student deserves to feel safe and respected, and they deserve us to foster an inclusive environment for them, so it should absolutely be taught.
Thank you. Ms. Marsh.
I agree with Susan. I think that it should absolutely be included in schools, and it's so important to prep them for the future by teaching them civics. Otherwise, we'll be turning out students into our community who don't know anything about civics, and it's really important. That's all part of literally what we're doing right now. It's part of civics. Along the lines of diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's vital, especially now. We're a really divided country, and we really shouldn't be, but we are. And I think it's really important for people to really get to know who's who in our community, and the people who are most marginalized tend to be the ones who need the support the most and might feel excluded. And we want everyone to feel included, and it's so important. Thank you.
Mr. Lingstad?
Thank you. As a school board member, I will listen to concerns from the community and share factual information. I agree with all the candidates that we should support this regarding the district's students' population and our efforts being around diversity and equity and inclusion. I support teaching historical accuracy and provided by experts and educational professionals. Political agenda for me is not an option, and that I will absolutely support every student and every staff member in our district. Thank you.
And Mr. Helberg?
Could you repeat the
Yes,
question
certainly.
real quick? Sorry.
Do you think civics should be taught, and what is your feeling for concurring with the district's mission of equity, inclusion, and diversity for all?
Yeah, so civics is vitally important in our school district. You know, if we talk about the traditional liberal arts education, we're talking about, in government, talking about some of the great thinkers of our time, Montesquieu, Locke, if you get a Milton Friedman in economics, John Keynes. So this is vitally important. We have to see all sides of every argument. We need to teach our children how to be critical thinkers, have their own opinions, not give them their own opinions. So civics is vitally important. You know, with DEI, diversity of thought, abilities, experience, vitally important. Equity of opportunity for everybody. We don't hold anyone back. We help everyone up, and we need to make sure that equity and that opportunity is there and includes everybody. So yes, like I said, in the school district, we talk about a thing called the equity lens. And like I said, there's no bigger equity lens that we could shine on any of our children than providing them a solid education that actually provides the civics to understand our form of government and the great thinkers of this world. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is associated with the concept of civics. What is your position on banning books? Do you believe students have the right to decide their own reading material, and why? And with this question, we will start with Ms. Marsh.
That's a great question. It's a little nuanced, though, my answer. I don't think students should necessarily have the right to decide the books that they read. I think that through our school librarians and through our language arts instructors or other instructors, that they should be, if not necessarily should, but they could offer choices. In fact, I was talking with our 6th grade language arts teacher, and that's exactly what she does. And I thought that was really cool, because it gives families and students some autonomy so that if there is a book that doesn't necessarily sit right with them, the teacher has managed to use their experience to make a selection of books that still cover all of the concepts that they're trying to teach in their curriculum. So I don't think that books should be banned outright, but I do encourage teachers to give students choices, but only if they feel like it's within their thinking of their own curriculum.
Mr. Lingstad.
I believe that censorship fundamentally opposes which our democracy was built on, and we must fight to avoid censorship to ensure accurate information and statistics are accessible to all. At the same time, we must acknowledge that some content may be inappropriate for the school system, and I strongly believe that public school libraries should contain material that align with educational standards. And I strongly believe that public school that students and families should have the right to access resources through public libraries and the internet, exploring literacy of any topics they choose. But when controversial books are up for debate, school boards should listen to feedback from parents and the guardians and rely on teachers and librarians who are experts in the field to provide insight before making decisions about removing books from schools. Thank you.
Mr. Helberg.
So I would agree with Mr. Lingstad. I do not agree with censorship at all in any form. I do not agree with banning books, but I also believe that there are some books that are not appropriate for our children. Certainly, I wouldn't want pornographic magazines and types of books in the K through 2nd grade school. That's not appropriate. When you get down to it, issues of morality really belong with the family. You know, we have issues of books such as To Kill a Mockingbird that were banned by some schools because of words in them, and I understand that. But there's some of these books paint a good narrative of our history, and I think we need, as a society, need to understand where we came from to know where we're going. So I'm not in favor of banning books, but also we have a responsibility to our children to not let them see things that are not appropriate for that age level. And again, that can always ride with the family, but the schools should not really have like pornographic magazines and stuff in the libraries. Thank you.
Ms. Prettyman Hartill.
So I personally don't believe that books should be banned from schools ever. That said, I also understand that there are some parents that may have concerns about certain materials, and I think that it's really important that we take those concerns seriously. And, you know, in my view, those decisions should actually, I mean, ideally they should be guided at the state level to ensure consistency, not left entirely up to local boards where personal bias can sometimes play a larger role. So I think when those issues come up, the best path forward is just to stop and listen and approach the situation with a trauma-informed mindset. So it's about finding a balance between, I guess, intellectual freedom and thoughtful age-appropriate content without censoring important voices or ideas.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is your position on school lunch programs funded by the federal government? So again, this is the school lunch program funded by the federal government. Mr. Lingstad, you'll first address this.
Thank you. I believe that the federal government should absolutely support American citizens, and that school lunches should be provided, whether that be federal or state. But school lunches should be provided for every student. Every student deserves a hot meal every day, and yeah, thank you.
Mr. Helberg.
Yeah, I too am in favor of school lunches provided, whether it's paid for by the state or the feds. A couple years ago on the budget committee, we had a big deal with we weren't going to be able to provide free lunches for everybody. We finally got there, and we all felt happy about it, and we were really glad. The school district, we have free lunches and free breakfasts, and we all know that children have full bellies. They learn much better. In fact, my youngest son, he likes to eat breakfast. Then when I drop him off at school, he likes to go in because he's got treats he gets there. They're some of his favorites. So absolutely favor of school lunches, and I will fight to make sure we keep that free for everyone, both lunches and breakfasts. And if we could serve a dinner, that'd be great. But I know kids are going to go home, and even during the summer, we provide sack lunches to the children. So that's a great program to help keep the kids full during the summer. So yes, all in favor.
Ms. Prettyman Hartill.
So my belief is food is a basic human right. So we absolutely should be feeding students every single day. And the grant that we received actually to provide free lunches for students is, I believe, good until 2027. So students that attend Astoria School District will have free lunches. And like Carl said, I think for some students, the only hot meal that they may get in a day might be the meal that they're having at school. So I don't need a full 60 seconds to tell people that food is a basic human right, and we absolutely should be feeding them while they are at school.
And Ms. Marsh.
Pretty much ditto. I mean, I don't know who would have an opinion about school lunches that doesn't support it. I think that they should have lunch and breakfast and even meals during breaks, which we do, and it's wonderful because, again, just like Carl said, students who have empty tummies, they don't learn as easy, and it's hard because they're concentrating on that, or they could be hangry, and that's no fun either. I wish that lunch was a little longer during the day, but I don't think I have the power to control that, though.
Very good. Our next question is regarding assessments and proficiencies. According to the Oregon Smarter Balanced Assessment, the state assessment, only 45% of students in grade 3 met state English expectations in English language arts, Why are we below average, and what can be done to improve it? Mr. Helberg.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great question. So if you look at the Oregon Department of Education's website, it's all published right there, our test scores. The state uses a smarter balance test, and that's the only one they look at. They don't look at our in-house testing. But if you look at it's put between K to 5, 6 to 8, and then 11th grade. And if you look across the board, I mean, I'm going to round up, we're at 30% for reading and 30% for math. Matter of fact, the 11th graders, they showed 6% that were proficient in math. That's horrible. Now, good news is, within the school district, like I said earlier, we use a STAR test that measures kids' proficiency in reading and math, beginning year, mid-year, and end of year. And those show better numbers. But I don't think we can ignore the state's smarter balance test. We have to figure out why. I don't know why. But what we need to do as a school board is we need to work with the administration, the board, and the staff, and the teachers to figure out why these tests are so low. Certainly, we had a documented loss to learning from COVID that we haven't made up for, and that's across the nation. I'm getting a signal to stop, so stopping. Very good.
Ms. Prettyman Hartel.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I think that realistically, we need to take a hard, honest look at it, the education that our students are receiving, and ask whether or not we're truly giving them a trauma-informed, a supportive experience. And I think that it's not always easy to reflect critically on systems that we have in place, but it's necessary if we want to help both our students and our teachers grow. So I think supporting our educators with the training and resources that they need will directly impact our students' success. It's great to say we're going to graduate 97% of students, but if the students that we're graduating don't know how to read and they don't know how to do basic math, are we really educating them in a way that makes sense? So I don't think this is something that schools can do by themselves. I think it is something that we need to lean on our community partners and different community action agencies. We need to lean on parent volunteers and partnerships to really jump in and step up and support kids who are falling behind academically.
Ms. Marsh.
Well, I don't really like the whole idea of the fact that our students are behind because of COVID. Some of that is a reality. My youngest son, started kindergarten virtually. He did learn to read, which was pretty awesome. But we do have to figure out ways that we can engage our students to help them just have better experiences with reading. We can look back. Third grade, well, maybe they were still in COVID when they first started kindergarten too. So what were some of those fundamentals that they may have missed? Can we go back and kind of revisit those things? And does that help? We could look at reading material that's really engaging for students. Maybe it's the material, or maybe seeing it in a graphic novel format is fun. Or maybe even closed captions on TV. I love the literacy nights that the elementary levels host, and even readathon. We hosted our first readathon at the middle school last year, and it was so wonderful to hear the 7th grade language arts teacher tell me that he saw resistant readers turn into enthusiastic readers. Thank you.
And Mr. Linkstad.
I believe that we need school board members who will advocate for evidence-based literacy programs, including supporting and staffing Title I programs, and invest in more literacy coaches. I believe we do have one in each building now. Our goal should be to ensure that every child is reading at grade level by 3rd grade. Studies have shown that 1 in 6 children who are not reading proficient by 3rd grade are at risk of graduation or not graduating, and I believe that is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. This final question is an encapsulating question of tonight's forum. So what we will do is we will just do the inverse order of your introductions. So the final question is, why do you want to be elected? We'll start with Ms. Prettyman Hartel, heading down the table.
I feel like I covered a lot of that in my opening, but I would just reiterate again that I want to be elected because I want to be a voice in this community, a voice in our district. And I've been so fortunate that my boys have had an incredible education experience in the Astoria School District, and I want to ensure that every child has the same experience, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, whether they are a family experiencing poverty or food insecurity, or maybe, some mental health challenges or substance use disorder. So I truly believe that just having a background in social services is a really important person to have sitting at the table to advocate for students in our district.
Mr. Helberg?
Thank you. Like I said in my opening, I've been involved with the Astoria School District and children here many years, involved in a lot of different boards, budget committee, strategic planning committee. I've coached sports, middle school football, youth sports. I have 2 children that I'm highly invested in, obviously, in their success in the future. But I'm also invested in the success of all of our children in this district and in our community in this school district. And with my background and experience, I think I have that experience that can help lead us through one of these problems. I have 2 careers worth of experience in leading people, small and large groups, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, and working with diverse groups of people to develop strategic plans, execute those plans, use the follow-up control techniques as we go along that plan, and drive that plan to results. And I'm ultimately here for our children and our community, and that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm asking for everyone's vote for this position on Astoria School Board. Thank you.
Mr. Lingstad?
I believe my unique perspective and experience working in the district is going to be vital for understanding what staff, students, administrators, and families need to be successful. And I believe that my experience managing large public budgets and navigating financial challenges will best serve our community. I believe I have the right mindset to be an effective leader and a board member. I'm a local Astorian and a proud graduate of Astoria, and I hope I have the opportunity to serve my community. Thank you.
And Ms. Marsh?
I think our school district is doing a really good job of representing all of the voices that are in our community. I feel like I am uniquely qualified to add to that by being a neurodivergent person who has neurodivergent children. I've had my fair share of 504 and IEP meetings. And while my experience has been wonderful with my district, I know that that's not the case for every parent. And it makes me think about who's missing from the table when discussions and decisions are being made. And again, it's another way for me to give back to my community. But I usually try to think about who's missing from the table when we are making decisions in my various roles as a volunteer throughout our community. And seeing my children have the supports that they need kind of make me mourn for what it would be like if I had those supports growing up, let alone being diagnosed. But it really empowers me to help everyone in our district get what they need from our school district in ways that they can.
Thank you. On behalf of the AAUW, and I hope I'm not being presumptuous, on behalf of the Astoria School District, thank you for your willingness to be here tonight, to speak to us, to share your thoughts, and ultimately to serve our community. At this time, you may be excused to sit in the audience.
I'd like to thank AAUW, KMUN, and Mr. Jackson. My name is Mitra Bazin, and I sit here and I like to tell you that I have realized the American dream through education. I was not as fortunate as you to have been born in this country, but I was raised in a very pro-American family in Tehran, Iran. Through education and hard work, I have held jobs that I never dreamed I could. I ran 4 Job Corps centers for the federal government. This is like coming back home. I was a substitute teacher at the Astoria High School for 4 months. My relationship with Clatsop Community College started as an adjunct instructor, being at the budget committee, Board of Education, and right now I am very proud to have served and have done a good job with the board. I am fortunate to say I will have been responsible for the training and job placement of over 10,000 students throughout my Job Corps career. I have done job placements, and I am proud to say that I am giving back to my community and my country. I like every other young person, every other immigrant, to realize the American dream. No other country has the American dream but America. There is no Canadian dream. There is no Japanese dream. And that's why I want to serve the students, the staff, my community, and my country. Thank you.
Ms. Bates.
Hello, my name is Morgan Bates. I'm running for Clatsop Community College Board of Education, Position 2. I live in Astoria, and I've been in Clatsop County for 11 years. I've been a student at the college since 2022, and will graduate this June with an AAOT with a focus on natural resources. My time at CCC as a student and as the treasurer of the Associated Student Government has given me the experience to know what students need to succeed. I'm running to bring a fresh, student-focused perspective. I'm going to lead with integrity. People know me as someone who follows through on the things I say I'm going to do. I also intend to bring stability and focus to this position. I believe the board should be focused on what is most important, student success. I will not let distractions derail the important work the board needs to do. I will always put students first. I know what it's like to be a student at the college currently, and I will be a strong voice to ensure every decision made reflects the priorities, challenges, and goals of students. I will support faculty and staff at the college, and I'm committed to advocating for the people who make CCC a great place to learn. CCC has had some challenges in the last few years, and I'm ready to get to work with the rest of the Board of Education to help the college in carrying out its mission, empowering all students to reach their full potential. Thank you to the AAUW, KMUN, and the community for being here for this opportunity to speak in front of you tonight.
Thank you. As a reminder, for the following questions that will be posed shortly, you have 1 minute to respond. The first question has already been posed to those candidates for the Astoria School Board of Directors, but the question reads as such: what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to you with regards to your service on the Community College Board? And we'll start with Ms. Bates.
For the DEI pertaining to the board and for the college, I think it is really important to feel supported and included. I think the college has done a good job in making sure that all of the students feel that way, and I intend to continue in helping with the board and the school in continuing that feeling for those students. The school has given me plenty of support through the years of being there, and I will do whatever I can to ensure the rest of the students that go to community college feel included as well.
I am happy to say that I taught intercultural awareness, introducing different cultures and beliefs, but I was a diversity trainer to teach people how to treat everyone equally and with respect. I believe in diversity that has inclusion. We talk about diversity, but if we do not have inclusion, we don't have diversity. It does not equal to equality. I definitely believe that in every small community, we need to include everybody. Diversity means inclusion. Thank you.
Next question deals with board meetings themselves. It says, CCC board meetings have often been unruly and unproductive over the past years. What qualities do you bring to this position to move forward in the best interest of the students and community? Ms. Vazin.
I have to say that I like everybody on the Board of Education. We have board members that like to express themselves, and that is just the democracy that we have. But at this time, we really have been working collaboratively, and as I sit here, I have the very strong support of 6 board members, and one of them including myself. But we have been working collaboratively, even with, we may have differences of opinions. We hired a new president. The hiring process was difficult. We had very good candidates, and the candidates we supported and selected has done an excellent job. So the board has differences, but we are moving forward. We have balanced the budget. It's one of the best boards yet for many years.
The question one more time.
The CC board meetings have often been unruly and unproductive over the past years. What qualities do you bring to the position to move forward in the best interests of students and the community?
I believe the qualities that I bring to the board are integrity and transparency. As I've said, I think the board needs to focus on what is important, which is student success and the stability of the college. Also, having support for the faculty and the staff of the school is really important. Unfortunately, the bad news that comes out of community colleges, mostly from the board, and I hope to turn that around and bring confidence back into the board from the community itself with transparency and just working on staying focused for the students.
The next question, in light of potential federal actions, how will you make choices due to federal funding cuts, and what would be your priorities to fund at the college? Ms. Bates.
So fortunately, with the budget and the federal budget changes, the school gets most of its money from the state. It also gets money from tuition and from property tax here in this county. So I feel we may not need to worry as much about the federal level since we have those other places that we can get our funding from. And I think to stay focused on the tuition and those other things that the school gets money from and not focus on the worry of the federal government.
I liaison from the Board of Education. For 1.5 years, I was with the foundation board. And we have one of the best foundation boards because they're constantly trying to raise funds. And part of the funds they raise assist the students with tuition, food, rent, gas, And if you don't know, please come to one of their meetings. I'm sure they're open to public. And the foundation helps. However, in light of the demonstration at some of the universities, many donors have decided not to fund and support the Ivy League schools, and they are giving to community colleges. And we need to get those monies. One of the biggest philanthropists is down the road from us, down I-5, Scott McKenzie, the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. She gives a lot to community colleges, to schools. She's a former teacher, and I have spoken to our foundation director. There are ways to get monies. If there is a will, there is a way. If we need to educate our students, we're going to educate our students.
The Historic Preservation Program at Clatsop Community College is unique nationwide. How would you increase enrollment in that special program? Ms. Fazin.
Well, as someone who likes old homes and old things, I was talking to Mr. Gutenberg, and we have a difficult finding teachers at this moment, and through advertising, Astoria is the oldest settlement west of the Mississippi, and it's a good area to live. I don't think we have problem getting students. We have to get the word out. We still have a lot of homes that need gentrification like we had 30 years ago. These homes we're going to preserve and keep. And we just have to advertise that we have that course, we have those trainings available. Thank you.
Ms. Bates?
I think a lot of the community members would agree that the historic preservation is important. There's a lot of history here, and I think it's important to share that history and keep it in its historic way. I think to keep the focus on what jobs could be available in going through that historic preservation program, and connecting them with local businesses who have possibly gone through that program or could benefit from going through the program could help keep that program alive.
The next question is important about any organization. How would you improve the implementation of the strategic plan of the community college? Again, how would you improve the implementation of the strategic plan? Ms. Bates. Okay, so would you concede your time to Ms. Fazin? Ms. Fazin?
Thank you. The strategic plan are set to guide the college on how to manage the college. When I was studying my master's at George Fox University, I studied very hard. Now I'm goofing off these days, but I graduated with honors with my master's degree. So the implementation phase of any plan starts with everyone knowing what their duties are. It's like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Strategic planning is approved and needs to be with every department. And every staff member must be aware of where we're going. We had to write a plan. Writing plans are easy. Implementations is what it takes, and it takes a village. It's not the president that's going to do it. It's not the Board of Education. It takes everybody. And one of the things that I advocate for is a student-centered. We want to be student-centered. And what student-centered means is allow students to take charge of their training and their learning, not to mandate, not to tell them how to do it. Allow them to see what's out there. There are a lot of certifications out there. They are, not everybody that's being educated has to have a PhD. We get educated for employment, to respond to the workforce, to respond to the employers. Thank you.
Due to some time constraints that we have this evening, this will be our last question for the Community College Forum. Enrollment at Clatsop Community College is presently down. What could you see the community college doing to build back the community college for students? So, Ms. Bazin.
College and university enrollments are low nationwide. It's not with Clatsop Community College. And the way we can do it is to bring creativity in course offerings. We can't just be offering other stuff. I've been on the board for 2 years. The next 4 years, if I have the honor to be elected, I would like to focus on the courses that would benefit the county, the state, and students can get jobs with them all over the country. We have to be hybrid with our courses, meaning that we need to have online classes, in person, and be more creative with the classes we have, and work with the local community and businesses, like we do with hospitals.
And Ms. Bates, increasing enrollment.
Although the board is not directly involved in enrollment efforts, we should make sure that we support the hard work of the staff that are there day in and day out, working to increase the enrollment. Students need to know the college is in a stable position, so the board should be focused to inspire students by showing them teamwork, collaboration, and integrity. These are values that I would bring to the board. And I think including the community and just making sure the staff feel supported and the students are feeling that they have a board that's running successfully, they can also run successfully. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your time and willingness to be here to share your thoughts and ideas today. And we'd like to excuse you to sit with the audience in the house at this time. We would like to begin the forum for the candidates for Commissioner of the Port of Astoria. We do have positions that are open in Position 1, Position 2, and Position 5. At this time, we would like to excuse Mr. Campbell, who is indisposed this evening and is unable to attend. Otherwise, we do have 5 candidates for the position. Again, reminders, candidates, you'll have 2 minutes to provide an introduction. Following that, we will have questions that will be posed. During the question and answer, you will have 1 minute to respond, being queued at 15 seconds remaining. So having said that, we'll begin first with Mr. Brownson, 2 minutes as an introduction.
Thank you. Okay, I want to thank AAUW, the Astoria High School, and KMUN for making this opportunity possible. I've lived most of my life in Clatsop County. The port is one of the county's greatest assets. Since 2007, I've been a user and tenant of the port facilities as a boat owner and yacht club board member. Over the past 15 years, I've attended port commission meetings on a fairly regular basis. As a city councilor for 8 years, the port was part of my ward, and as such, I've been a strong advocate for the port. I helped where I could in the development of the West Maureen Basin Master Plan by providing dollars and ushering in zoning changes that supported the final plan. Some of the top issues are the repairs on Pier 2. $25 million of federal funds have been granted to the port, and these need to be protected, as well as overcoming certain regulatory issues locally. We need to continue to move forward with the West Maureen Basin and boatyard master plans, come up with new opportunities for Pier 1 other than cargo, and get started on the revitalization of the East Mooring Basin. We need to look for growth opportunities for the airport while maintaining good relationships with existing tenants. When trying to resolve these issues, there are rarely easy answers. As a decision maker, I'm pragmatic and always looking for opportunities. I will bring my previous governmental experience to bear along with the solid relationships I have formed with Warrington and Astoria city leaders and staff. I believe my election will help cement the positive direction and reputation the port has been building over the last 10 years. I do my homework and I come prepared. I've had the good fortune to play a part in the recent growth and development of Astoria, which is having a positive impact on the Port of Astoria and Clatsop County as a whole. I wish to continue to play a significant part in this important work, and I will also work to keep the public informed and the actions of the port transparent. Finally, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and thanks to all the KMUN listeners.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins.
Good evening. I'm Thomas Jenkins, and I'm running for Port of Astoria Commissioner here in position 2. I'm running because I have experienced what it means to come out here to the coast and to not only try to make a living, provide for my family, but to really understand what it means to be a part of a community. Just my wife and I having our own needs to travel to and from Astoria, a single parent at a time, sometimes with our child, sometimes on our own, and realizing that the people here were people we could call when we got a flat tire on the road, and they would look out for us, and they would take care of us. And in my 20 years of serving the military and growing up as a military child myself, I'm here because people like you chose to step forward, give your time, give your energy, give your patience to help people like me, and I owe. I want to come to work for you at the Port of Astoria as one of your newest commissioners because I'm a member of the community just like you. And it's not just public property down there on the waterfront and over at the airport, but it's your port. Whether you do business there, whether you enjoy recreation there, whether you are as big a fan of the local seafood as my daughter is, who would eat her weight in steamer clams if she had the opportunity right now, or whether you have friends and family or strangers that you just haven't been introduced to yet who come to the Lower Columbia, the port should be the safest, cleanest, most approachable, most accessible way that we can interact with the Columbia River. That is the original Main Street here in Clatsop County, long before pavement and automotives came to town. If elected, I promise I will be just as accessible as I am tonight. If there's a meeting, I will be there. If it's in a school auditorium, I will be there. If it's coffee with friends, I will be there. I won't wait for you to come to the port to understand what's going on. I will find you where you are on your time, on my dime, and let you know how we're working for you. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm running for re-election for the Port Commission. Why? Well, let me tell you. When I first ran, the port was a mess, losing lawsuits, returning over $1 million in grant money, and the list goes on. With a change of board followed by a change of administration, things really started to turn around. Our first priority was damage control, stop the bleeding, and also to rebuild relationships with local, state, and federal partners. Our next shock was the pandemic, learning to do more with less. During this time, we worked to develop plans. The port undertook extensive planning that would position the port to be competitive in getting grants to restore and redevelop its aging infrastructure. Success in this has been happening at both small and large levels. The large example would be the award of $25 million to redevelop Pier 2. Pier 2 is an important economic asset for the West Coast fisheries. Right now, we are close to finalizing an agreement with the master developer to execute our central waterfront plan. This plan was an incredible collaboration between the port and the city of Astoria, a far cry from earlier strained relations. I could go on about the many positive developments at the port, so why am I running? because I want to see it through. I believe my background, my connectedness, and my experience make me the most qualified person to help keep the port on track. Thank you.
Mr. Fickle.
Well, good evening. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here. It's so great to see so many people come out and give up a perfectly serviceable Tuesday. I'd like to thank the people that are listening on the radio. My name is Thaddeus Fickle, and I'm a father and a husband, probably like most of these other fellows up here. And in my professional life, I'm a commercial pilot and a flight instructor. I've spent my whole life living near the Columbia River. I'm intimately familiar with many of the issues that take place along the river: irrigation, power production, fish passage issues, tribal issues. And not that those issues have a direct impact here, but there's echoes of them that come here. And in dealing with those issues, I developed some of the skills that a good port commissioner that the Port Commission needs: policy development, budgeting, accounting, accountability, and I bring that experience down here. I look at it kind of like a Port Commission should be like, let's say, the Justice League or DC Comics or Marvel Avengers. You got a whole bunch of superheroes that come together to solve a problem, to fight crime. They pool their strengths and they spread out their weaknesses. And you would want to have a diverse set of opinions, a diverse background and experience. And I believe I offer that. As a commercial pilot, I fly over the port properties on a daily basis. And I believe that that's a valuable, unique experience and perspective as well. Mr. Moderator?
Thank you. Mr. Seitz, your introduction.
Hi. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you to the University Women for hosting this event. My name is Rob Seitz, and I'm running for Astoria Port Commission, Seat 5. As a small business owner, I've benefited from the port services. And after 30-plus years of commercial fishing working out of Astoria, delivering catch and maintaining my vessel at the port, I feel an obligation to the port. It is also a place I have some knowledge about, as I'm on the advisory board for the shipyard and worked on its master plan. Freight or cargo are logistically impractical for the Port of Astoria. It needs to focus on the things it does best, which is fishing, both commercial and recreational, the shipyard, and tourism. We are the 8th biggest seafood port in the country. Fishing is part of our history and culture. It's in Astoria's DNA. Wild capture fish has the smallest carbon footprint of any form of food production and is a top-notch protein. To that end, I believe these should be the port's biggest priorities. Make repairs to the west side of Pier 2 to stop the damage and keep fish landings coming in. Implement the waterfront master plan in a way that makes better use of the waterfront for locals and tourists while protecting our working waterfront, which not only provides jobs, it attracts visitors and should be considered a primary feature of our town. Make improvements to the shipyard. The shipyard is one of the port's biggest successes. Every year it breaks its own record for boat service and demand keeps growing. With improvements, it will be able to serve the entire local fleet and bring more jobs to the area. Complete the wastewater treatment facility for the fish processors at the port to help them comply with the state's new regulations and figure out how to get the East End Basin useful again. I know it's a lot. I hope I get the opportunity to work on it with the other commissioners and the port staff. Thank you.
Thank you for your introductions. Now we will move on to the questions and the corresponding answers. As a reminder, you have 1 minute to respond. The first question is, please tell us about the Astoria Waterfront Master Plan. What elements are currently being actively worked on, and how is it being assessed? So, master plan, current elements, and how is it being assessed? Mr. Jenkins, we'll have you start off for us, please.
Thank you. So, reading through the latest minutes of the Astoria Commission down at the port, they've recently heard some presentations on what are known as requests for expressions of interest. So, hearing business solicitations from new industry looking to come in with the understanding that the port is beginning a period of massive reinvestment. Starting with a primary angle to support our growing hospitality and tourism industry, they're looking at taking out the old Riverwalk Inn and replacing it with more modern, approachable, and economic at different price levels forms of lodging to both attract people to the port as part of their journey to the Lower Columbia, as well as supporting people who have their boats in the West Mooring Basin or want to take part in activities around what will become the fishing village, to have an easy place to access the waterfront while they're staying there. In addition to all of this, we're currently going to be looking at maintenance. And as far as assessments go, the assessments I care about are what the longshoremen and the workers in the port tell me, because you can't get more raw than that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I was involved in the planning process with the City of Astoria. This was one of those things where we learned about Zoom when we were during the pandemic, and we have over 90 people participating in those planning, in that extensive planning process with the City of Astoria. And the City of Astoria deserves a lot of credit, and hired a gentleman by the name of John Southgate to guide the city and the port through that process. And what the process involves is the central waterfront where the West Marina is, where people refer to where the old Red Lion was, and it doesn't include Pier 1 where the log yard is. It's not on that commercially zoned property. It's on ground that's mostly recreational, and the idea was to create, I can go on for about 20 minutes, so. The short version is I helped select the Atlan Investment Group. I was a part of that committee, and we chose somebody based on their ability to execute and fund that process.
Mr. Fickle.
So with only a minute, I'm going to encourage you to go to the Port of Astoria's website, and you can download a PDF version of the master plan yourself. It's a pretty good read. I've read it, and I agree with everything that's been said. There's some cool stuff. The old hotel's going to be raised. A new hotel will be put in its place. I do have two concerns that I'd like to address in however many seconds I have left. One, have you ever taken a cruise? You jump off a cruise ship in Alaska or Mexico, and you see all of the construction, all of the diamond shops, the knick-knack stores. I would like to make sure that we don't get overrun with that on Pier 1, that the cruise ship passengers come off the boat and they're directed and funneled into downtown. In addition to the cool things that they're building here, I just want to make sure that it also includes downtown area. And the other thing, I got 15 seconds. I talked to one of the city engineers, and that person expressed some concerns about the amount of water that is available in the city's municipal water supply. Just want to make sure that whatever goes in will comply with those requirements.
Mr. Seitz.
Thank you. I'm the president of Astoria Fishermen's Cooperative, and we actually put in submitted an expression of interest when the port called for them, and that was because over the years since I've been here, when I first showed up in '93, the first place I delivered to was called Astoria Dock, and it's now Pier 39, which, you know, there's no fish being delivered there. I used to deliver at Ocean Foods, which is now the Bowline Hotel, and I used to deliver at Bornstein Seafoods, which became a brewery and then fell into the river. So the reason we were interested in this waterfront master plan is because it's obvious if commercial fishing and tourism go head to head, then commercial fishing loses every time. So That's why I feel like it's important that we protect our working waterfront. We need to make sure that fish landings can continue happening, because you can have a hotel anywhere, but you can only deliver fish one place. Thank you.
And Mr. Brownson.
Thank you. So, having been part of the whole process of developing this waterfront master plan, both through on city council, as I mentioned, being able to help fund the Port of Astoria to go into this endeavor, and then to follow it up with doing the pushing the zoning needed to make sure that what the people, and Dirk pointed it out, that there were a lot of people that were involved in this process. It was on Zoom. People didn't have a lot more to do, so we ended up with 90 and 100 people on a call taking part in developing this master plan. So it had really strong public support. I think the implementation of it, basically we are not adding anything that is going to strain the port resources any further at this point. We're going to remove a hotel, and we're going to replace it with a hotel with, like equal number of rooms. And I have to stop now. I could also talk a long time about this, but thank you.
Thank you. Presently, there are some concerns regarding the stability of federal funding streams. The question here is, if federal grants and loans are stopped, what money will be left and what will continue? Can the port survive the lack of federal funding? And Mr. Rohn, you'll be our first speaker.
No news is good news. So with regard to the $25 million federal funds that we're able to get for Pier 2, which if the port had 20 priorities, Pier 2 would be 1 through 19. Huge impact. And so we're working with the assumption that we're good, and I think ports may be something, I hope, of bipartisan interest to invest in, and fisheries are what works in the Port of Astoria. Everything we do that works seems to have that common thread running through it. I'm all in favor of diversity of economic activity. We're working very well with the state. We're working collaboratively with the DEQ right now. We had staff go to Denmark, and we're working on industrial symbiosis. So our people went to Denmark, and they're taking those lessons that they've learned. They've brought them back here. We've met recently. We're hoping to use those for our own seafood to help make our industries resilient for the future.
Mr. Fickle.
This question keeps me up at night, and I don't even have the job yet. Everybody in our country, no matter where you're at, is dealing with the uncertainties that we are facing. We have to do it together. So I believe that, like Mr. Rohn said, no news is good news. We have a grant that's come through, and we should work really hard to get it used. There's issues on Pier 2, and we have a plan to get it fixed. So we need to work together to solve this problem. And then to protect the industry that is there, the commercial fishing, the seafood processing, that's already there generating income and jobs. And we can protect that, continue to enjoy that industry.
Mr. Seitz.
Can you repeat that question again?
Certainly. If federal grants and loans are stopped, what money will be left and what will continue? Can the port continue to survive another 4 years without federal funding?
Well, I think thanks to Will Isom, the executive director, they have the port is on a pretty even keel here. It went through some bad years, but it seems like they're paying their bills and making money. And I guess, this question reminds me of when we went through the groundfish disaster back in the late 90s, early 2000s. our community suffered a lot because the fish landings were greatly reduced, and we all had to learn how to live on less. And so, and you know, raising kids, I mean, we all have to spend every dollar twice. So, I think my experience leading up to this has prepared me for getting by with less. Thank you.
Mr. Brownson?
Thank you. I mentioned in my opening remarks that $25 million, we have to do everything we can to protect it and make sure that it stays there, because without that $25 million, Pier 2 does not get repaired. If it does not get repaired, we lose the fishing industry that we have here. DeYang is gone, Bornstein's gone. It would be a serious blow to the economy of Clatsop County. It would be almost a death blow to the port at this point, because there isn't another $25 million out there anywhere. The port has done an extraordinary job over the last 10 years to make itself relevant, make itself an entity that is being respected by the state and funding agencies, its relationship with the city. It has done all the right things. The director has been to Washington, D.C. He has lobbied. He has talked to the people that know that this is important, along with other port entities. So there's very little control we have over the current administration, but I will talk and make sure I'm heard. Thank you.
And Mr. Jenkins?
Well, as a retired meteorologist and a current emergency management specialist, uncertainty and I are best friends. Not a stranger to working with it, working around it, and figuring out a way to make things happen. The $25 million was a promise made before the world as we knew it started to change very rapidly, and for many people, far quicker than we had intended. The Waterfront Master Plan is just that. It is a plan. It was a snapshot in time with the situation as we understood it. The planning process that went into that and will go into other future investments on the waterfront for the Port of Astoria will be ongoing and need to be comprehensive for the whole community. If we can't count on federal funding with that same reliability, as your Port of Astoria Commissioner, I'm going to go down to Salem and talk to the governor's office, talk to the legislature, and make them understand how vital small centers of industry are to our economy out here. And I will look at other partnerships as well. We are a sister port to Busan, South Korea. We have public institutions of higher education. We can get help.
There's been quite a bit of discussion this evening regarding port number 2. This question is about port 1 and 3. So piers 1 and 3. Piers 1 and 3 seem to cater more to tourists and pleasure craft. How can that cover costs of maintaining the property? Mr. Fickle, you'll be our first respondent.
Pier 3 contains the boatyard, and the boatyard makes a lot of money for the port, and it costs very little. And it's a jewel. It's a real gem in the region for the entire West Coast, essentially. It's unusual to find a pier where people can lift their boats out of the water and do their own work on them. So, yes, there are pleasure boats that go there, but also, you know, Rob, your boat, right? You'd lift it out of the water and take care of it. So the Pier 3 and the boatyard caters to the commercial fishing and to the recreational fishing. We lift our sailboat out every 2 years and paint the bottom. And we also rent at the marina. The marina is full. If you drive by, you see a lot of empty slips, and those are leased by commercial fishing operations that only use it a few weeks a year. I think if we can get the East Mooring Basin going, it will relieve some of the pressure, and we can make more money at the West Mooring Basin as well.
Mr. Seitz?
Can you repeat that question one more time?
Piers 1 and 3 seem to cater more to tourists and pleasure craft. How can that cover costs of maintaining the property?
Well, like Thaddeus said, the shipyard is one of the port's biggest successes. It does more business every year, and it's not just commercial boats, more and more pleasure crafters also, and the bar pilots. The nice thing about that shipyard is that it's a do-it-yourself shipyard, so you can do all the work yourself or hire it done, and so I see it as a good economic driver for this community because there's a couple welding operations down there that have sprung up. Some hydraulic guy and electronics people. It's a growing entity. The other pier where they're doing the logs, as far as I know, they're renegotiating their lease there. Anyway, I'm not sure I know the part of the recreational on those piers. There's the West Mooring Basin, but that's not on the pier. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brownson?
Thank you. So the question is mistaken. Pier 1 and Pier 3 are not tourist-related facilities, with the exception of cruise ships that dock at Pier 1, some in the spring and some in the fall. But Pier 1 has been, right now it's had the log export business going on it, and talking about the boatyard, that is a commercial enterprise. It is not a tourist enterprise. Yes, recreational and commercial boats are worked on there. It's been expanding its business. It's grown in popularity due to the fact that there are fewer and fewer boatyards where you can take your boat and work on it yourself. So it has gone from being in the red to helping to support the rest of the port. They've had, I think, last year, $150,000 into the black, which is just a complete change. And this is with what the Boatyard Master Plan is there to take advantage of this. Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
Well, when it comes to recreation support, once dollars start to come into the port, we need to have that infrastructure there to make sure that that dollar high-fives as many different aspects of the port as possible before it goes out into the community and who knows where. So as we're looking at building up potentially a fishing village and a market hall, how can we make sure that money that's coming in not only stays in the port and supports the port's daily operational needs, but if we start to hit a critical mass, like the growing popularity of the boatyard for our commercial and our recreational users, okay, can we make investments to capitalize on that? If we're seeing a bigger demand, can we meet that demand? Can we advertise that we do have the facilities that people are asking for and that they should find their way to our waterfront? And finally, we need to make sure that we're doing this comprehensively across all enterprises the port is involved in, because we don't want to lose focus on what isn't working because we suddenly see something that looks like it's in good health and it becomes an easy thing for us to focus on. Thank you.
Mr. Roan?
Both Tom Brownson and Rob Seitz are correct about their assessment of Pier 1 and Pier 3. Pier 1 has a building on it. We have tenants, doctor's office, Dr. Baxter's, many other doctors and people who use that building. There is currently a log yard, and that's what it's currently doing. And the Pier 3 is the boatyard. We went through a master boatyard planning, kind of a stepped phase approach. It's mostly, I believe, commercial fisheries utilize that. Like my friend did own a crab boat, and when they had an emergency repair to be made, they were able to get their boat out, and they were able to marshal the talent and the resources and the materials they needed to get their boat back in the water quickly. And so we've had many commercial fishermen come and tell the port how important that is as an asset. It's a winner based on the people at the port who work there. Your greatest asset is the people that you have. In this case, it's the literal truth. I believe it has potential to grow in the future. It's an exciting thing at the port right now.
Very good, thank you. This will be the concluding question, and we will begin with Mr. Seitz. The question is, what are your top 3 priorities to build financial sustainability of the port? Top 3 priorities to build financial stability.
Okay, we've talked about the west side of Pier 2. I think that's #1 priority. Keep the fish landings happening and stop the damage from occurring. Second priority, waterfront master plan. We need to turn that into something attractive instead of an eyesore and more useful for our community. And then the shipyard. Shipyard's a income driver and it's growing. If we can get that 350-ton travel lift, then we'll be able to haul all the local boats, which is going to, increase the amount of work being done down there and the revenue. And it'll also keep those dollars being spent at home and instead of them having to go to Newport or Port Townsend somewhere else to work on their boat. Thank you.
Mr. Brownson?
Yes, so Pier 2, absolutely. Everything that we've talked about those top 3 priorities. What we haven't talked about a lot is how that might shift a little bit. We have a lot of, so Pier 1, for example, it's been used recently for log exports. And if you've paid any attention, you've seen that sort of comes and goes. It's not really a very sustainable use of that property. So I think that on the commission, I would aim towards strategizing for ways to improve the use of Pier 1. It could be a combination of an expansion of Bornstein's, because they are consolidating all their operations down here, as well as adding some cruise ship facility there potentially. I mean, those are just a couple of thoughts, but we're open to ideas about that. We need to strategize about the East Mooring Basin, because as soon as that gets online, that will start paying for itself too, because right now it's not.
Mr. Jenkins.
So #1 is sustainable development of business in the port. That's going to bring living wage jobs here to the region, not just in the port, but near the port, because a lot of businesses off the waterfront and away from the airport depend upon what we're doing. And we want to make sure as the master waterfront plan is undergoing construction and we start to see new investments in there, that the port remains safe for workers as the construction goes on, and that it becomes an ultimately safer place for work and industry after it's completed. Second is going to be protecting the natural resources and the natural environment that the port occupies. Commercial fishing is a huge, huge part of our economy and our identity. We want to make sure that we're also working with the industry that depends on that. So the wastewater treatment for our food and fish processors, we want to make sure that that is safely built in and possibly can start to be fee generating and revenue generating for the port. And then finally, collaboration with the community needs to be stronger, needs to continue as we look at the East Mooring Basin. Thank you.
Mr. Rohn.
I don't want to repeat everything that everyone just said, but I would like to add the airport as a critical asset to the Port of Astoria. There's different ways of thinking about what the port provides. The Coast Guard has a home out there. There's Air Group Astoria that provides not necessarily the jobs that those Coast Guardsmen and women have. They benefit our community largely, and also they're providing a community service. So that you can't necessarily say that's a business. Having said that, there's industrial land out at the airport that can be developed, which some of it has been. Mostly businesses, companies, England Marine, Bornstein's, Electro, Those are the people who create the jobs for our community. As a port, we're a partner with them to help them succeed. We need to cover the cost of the infrastructure, but we want longshoremen to succeed. We want the Coast Guard to succeed. We want the businesses to succeed, and ultimately that will have the greatest regional impact on our community.
And Mr. Fickle.
1, Pier 2, 2, Fishing Village and the cruise ship terminal, and 3, the boatyard, getting a new lift out there to bring larger boats in. And then we have another port. Dirk remembered it, the airport. The airport is a valuable commodity. It's a wonderful place. I fly all over the western United States, and this is a beautiful airport with a lot of possibility. There's a lot of good enthusiasm out there. We have Life Flight out there. We have the bar pilots, the helicopter that takes tourists around in Seaside. They land there. And we've got, like Dirk said, the Coast Guard. My little flight school is there. And I believe that we have an opportunity to make the airport a more useful, front-of-mind place. In my last few seconds, I'd like to acknowledge my friend Jim Campbell that's not here. We all respect him. He's done great work for the port and for our community, and hope he gets feeling better soon.
Thank you. As with the other groups, thank you for your willingness to be here tonight and for your willingness to serve and develop our local economy. So thank you, and you may be seated. Mr. Withers, your introduction, please.
My name is Charles Withers. I recently moved to Clatsop County from Virginia to retire. I was looking for somewhere that was close to heaven, and I actually found heaven. And I'm happy to be here. And after moving here, I'll tell you a brief little story. Is my experience with transit goes way back. I grew up in the Jim Crow South. I rode buses everywhere. We did not have a car. We rode buses. I experienced paying for the bus in the front, going out the back door, going out the front door, going in the back door, and having a seat. I didn't read about it. I didn't hear about it. I actually did it. This was every day of the week. We literally drove by 5 or 6 schools that we could not attend, and but we didn't know it was a bad thing. We just liked riding the bus. It was fun. It was exciting. It was all those things. My mother told us how to use the bus, and she taught us all the whats and nots and whatevers. And I find that interesting that feed forward almost 50 years, no more than that, I guess probably 65 years or so, I found myself on the Sunset Empire Transit District in the office, in the position of making policy and actually directing policy and help direct policy. And I feel like it's full circle from that little boy who rode that bus and thought it was just fun to be on the bus. So I've always been interested in public transportation. I've used it all my life. I use it when I can. I think you should use it instead of your cars. And I think that my love for transit is what drove me to join the transit district. And I continue to have that love for the transit and for the transit district.
Thank you. And Ms. Klezak.
Yes, thank you. Thank you to everybody that's still here. It is past my bedtime, so I know there's probably some other people in that group out there. Thank you very much to all those people even listening from home through KMUN. Thank you for sponsoring this to go out over the airwaves. Very much appreciated, and especially thank you to all the women in the AAUW that put this together. Your work is very appreciated. We need more of this, so don't stop. My name's Kathy Klezak, and after a 5-year hiatus from being on the Sunset Empire Transportation District Board, I'm excited for the opportunity to contribute to the board again. I will bring my commitment and experience and expertise to the board and most of all to the community. It has been an honor to serve in previous years, first as an elected board member in 2011 and then as a board chair. I worked to ensure stability, transparency, and most of all, to build back trust after the financial mismanagement of 2010. There's a lot of work that needed to be done and the district needed to be rebuilt. With over 2 decades of transportation planning and public service, including leadership roles at the local and state level, I consistently focused on bridging the needs of those who rely on transit with the decisions shaping our services. As your representative, I'll remain the strong voice for improved transportation options, open communication, equity-focused solutions, and better transit for everybody in our community. A vote for Kathy Klezak is a vote for improved future for our transportation system and for everyone in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, 1 minute, and we're going to test this because this is a 3-pronged question. So 3-pronged question. 1, do you use the bus system? 2, what are 2 good things that it does? And 3, why do we need a bus system on the North Coast? And we'll start with Ms. Klezak.
Thank you. I use the bus whenever I can, which is to say, because of my job opportunity, I don't get to use it very often. I use it whenever I can to go to Portland instead of using the highway and driving my car. I use it to run from Seaside down to Cannon Beach to visit friends or visit businesses in Cannon Beach. The bus is important because it is freedom. It is freedom for those people that choose not to drive a car and not to spend money in that direction, and for people that can't drive a car. It's freedom for people that want to visit here and don't have a car here to use and want to get around. It's freedom for people with disabilities. It's freedom with people that don't have a driver's license for whatever reason, whether it's age, being too young for a driver's license, or letting that go and moving into a new stage of your life where it's not safe to drive a car. There was a 3rd prong, and Why do we need it? Why do we need it? Freedom. Because we need to have people be able to get around and not be homebound. And that's why we need a transit system that not only exists, but that functions for those that live in our community.
Thank you. And Mr. Withers.
Yes, I do. Oops, there you go. I do take the bus. Not regularly, but certainly often enough to sort of get a feel for how the drivers and riders feel about the bus in itself. I realize that a lot of folks in our community are unfortunate enough not to have cars, so the bus serves as a valuable means of transportation, and it also serves as a way of getting from point A to point B at the least possible cost, not to mention the footprint, the carbon footprint that it reduces for those, it gets as many cars off the road as possible. I think that those who ride the bus probably see it as a necessity as opposed to like a luxury, and but it is both. I think it's good to have the bus service mainly for ourselves, and also to take advantage and help out the large number of tourists who come here to visit, and keep 101 from backing up for miles and miles. It takes some of those cars off the road, and but we need a bus service mainly because you can't just keep adding cars. Eventually, somewhere along the way, you need to reduce the number of cars on the road. I grew up in Texas where there was car was king, and so we had to work toward getting buses off the road. Getting cars off the road.
Thank you. The next question is, what is the current ridership of Sunset Empire, and how would you go about improving it? Mr. Withers, you're up first.
Well, as you all know, that we are still recovering from the shutdown. We sort of got it hit hard during the COVID pandemic, And then we had the shutdown, which was a terrible instance. It was a terrible situation for us. We tried to respond as quickly as we could to get the buses back up, but our goal is to bring the bus system back up in a slow and very progressive way. I know this keeps some of the folks who want the buses up right now, but we need to come back more measured and more thoughtful, so that when we come back up, we never go down again. And so the ridership is, I would say, probably at half, maybe a little less than half than where we were. And that's dependent, because in the summer we have obviously growth, and then in the wintertime the numbers are not as large. But I think our goal is always to be able to service all the people in the county who need us, and that will always be our goal to do that.
Ms. Klezak?
What are Sunset Empire's ridership numbers right now? It is a very good question, and I would say that there is not a consistent and regular measurement tool that the transit district employs to count those numbers. It has been an issue for a very long time, and there are technology and tools that are available to help to actually count those numbers, but the district uses a hand counting method most of all to count how many people ride the bus. And I think that is focusing on the wrong factor if we're counting on ridership the way that it's been counted, because it's how many times somebody boards the bus. And to me, that is not the most critical number. It's how many people are we serving, what communities are we serving, and how can we best improve service to those people that are furthest out and have the hardest time getting transportation to where they need to go.
The next question is, why do you think there is a management turnover, and what will you do to create staff stability? Ms. Klezak?
There's been management turnover, and that is the responsibility of the board. And so the board has one employee. The board's employee is the executive director. And if the board is not managing their job as managing the executive director, then they're not managing their employee. And things roll downhill from there. So if you're not creating a cohesive, communicative, open, transparent organization that follows their own rules, knows their own policies, and follows them, then your board director is not going to do that, and neither are any of your employees. And so if everybody is having to make it up as they go along because job descriptions haven't been updated and policies have not been updated, and that's all been in the process, and that process going on over years and years is acceptable, then that is why you have a management turnover.
Mr. Withers.
I think it's probably a little more simple, a little more complicated than that. We've had to replace our previous manager for obvious reasons. We brought in a new person to run the district who worked out well. We do an extensive search. We get community leaders involved in picking that person, and we do a thorough search, and we use our special district. We're a member of the Special Districts of Association of Oregon, so we get them to help us. And so we think we do a thorough job at doing it, but yet, no matter how much you do and how well you try to find that right person, you never can be absolutely sure they're going to stay. And we do it with the idea, not that we're going to hire someone who's going to leave. We do it with the idea we're going to hire someone who stays. So, but we remain committed, and we are changing policy internally so that we can more manage, have our executive director, who is our only employee that we have responsibility for, and work closer with them. We're in the process of doing that process right now, and we hope to have someone hired soon. But it's a work in progress, because it's a fluid, the job market is so fluid now that we hope to get someone who'll stay, but there's no guarantees. We get the next person who may appear to be great, and then they leave. So we work hard at that.
Thank you. This will be our concluding question. And as with other governmental entities, as we've discussed today, financial stability and security is vital. The question, therefore, is regarding this: what would you do to establish financial stability in the Sunset Empire Transportation District. Ms. Klezak. Actually, it's Mr. Withers. Your turn, Mr. Withers.
Most of you know that our funding comes from government sources. Most people think that we make money on passenger paying the fares, but we really don't. But most of ours is government finances and resources. So we have a good reputation with the state now that we've solved our problems and fixed some of the things that were intrinsic in the system. But it's always going to be an issue, and it's always going to be something we work at to assure that we keep the buses up and running and that we don't bring the service back until we're ready to bring it back, and we bring it back in stages so that we never, ever, ever have to shut down again.
Ms. Klezak, concluding remarks.
Thank you. So the financial situation with Sunset Empire and stability is a two-pronged answer. So first of all, since 2017, House Bill 2017 was passed, there was a payroll tax that was passed, so everybody's payroll, when you earn your money, 0.1% comes to transit, and then it gets divided up across the state, which created stability in financing for transit districts across the state since 2017. That is part of the transportation package that is up for discussion with the legislature again this year to increase that funding, and over the next 5 years to increase it up to 5-fold. So we'll see where that goes, but there is a potential increase. At the very least, that funding will remain stable. Transit is also funded federally, which of course is anybody's guess what will happen with that sort of funding. But the other thing, the most important thing as a board member to do as far as the funding is concerned, is to read the financial reports and ask questions. And if there is a question that you're not getting a satisfactory answer to keep asking that question until that question is answered.
Thank you. On behalf of the AAUW, I would like to extend my appreciation and gratitude to all of the candidates here this evening, as well as the community members, each and every one of you, for modeling civic engagement and civil discourse here this evening. And we wish the candidates the very best in the remaining of their campaign. Thank you, and have a pleasant evening.
You've been listening to a recording of a candidates forum. The Astoria branch of the American Association of University Women organized and hosted the event, and KMUN recorded it. To check out more of what KMUN has to offer, tune in to 91.9 FM.